Welcome back. We are live with another week of Growing with My Fellow Growers. I am your host, Jack Greenstock. I'm just going to be here briefly this week as I'm just finishing up my honeymoon with Lady Greenstock, but I'm going to introduce the panel before I go ahead and jump off. Starting first with someone we've missed the past few weeks, Dr. MJ.
Hey, Dr. MJ Coco from cocoforcannabis.com. Yeah, I'm glad to be back with you guys. I missed a few weeks, and I look forward to the show.
Definitely think the chat's looking forward to it. I already see they're jumping in there before I was even able to send a message. Reminder to go onto that live chat if you haven't already. Next up, we got Spartan Grown.
What's up, everybody? I'm Spartan Grown. You can find me on Instagram at Spartan Grown, all one word, or you can shoot me an email, spartangrown@gmail. I'm a organic farmer at home and a synthetic farmer at work.
Welcome back. Always great to have you, Spartan Grown. Next up, we got Noah the Grower.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Noah the Grower with 2 E's on Instagram, Cowboy Blazer fan on Twitter. You're more welcome to stop by and see what I got going on. I try and answer any questions anybody's got. I've been growing organically in soil for about 11 years now almost, and yeah, happy to be here.
Happy to have you back as always, and it being a smaller panel, I'm looking forward to listening back to the show as I won't be joining you for the rest of the evening. But next up, we have Kyle, Predicative Breeding.
Hey, everybody, glad to be here. For anybody who is listening that lives in the Massachusetts area, I'll be at the Gene Traders event. So if anybody wants to meet the infamous Kyle Breeder, I will be there, and I'll be happy to say hello and talk shop or whatever. But yeah, my name is Kyle Breeder. I specialize in feminized seeds, and yeah, I do have a website where you can access those. It's the website is the letter P followed by breeding.com, so that's pbreeding.com, and you can find me on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And again, I'm really happy we're here and still helping the people as much as we can.
It's always good to be here, and we're happy to have you back. Gene Trader sounds like it's going to be a good time, but with that said, I have made Dr. MJ the host. So, Doc, I just want to remind you in the Zoom to click on the participants, so that way you can see over on the side if anybody tries to join, because Russ Brandon joined us a little bit earlier. He said he was driving, so he's going to be a little bit late, and I think Matthew Gates might jump in there a little bit later as well.
Oh, wow.
But with that being said, I hope everybody has a great week.
It's a good thing you said that because Matthew Gates was already waiting when I checked, so he
Perfect.
should be joining us shortly here.
As we, I'm glad that I mentioned it. So with that said, hope you all have a great week. And Matthew, welcome in. And I'll catch you all next week. Have a good one, everybody. Peace and love. Jack Greenstock.
Grower love, Jack.
See you, Jack.
Take care, Jack.
Yeah, short intro. I'm sure most people, 90% of the chat probably knows already, but I am Matthew Gates, the Integrated Pest Management Specialist. If you got any questions about pests, pathogens, and all that sort of thing, you can put them in chat. You can check me out on Zenthal, my YouTube channel. You can also find me on my Instagram at SyncAngel, which are articulated on my background here.
All right. I guess I'm hosting here, somewhat surprisingly. Did everybody introduce themselves?
I think so.
I think
everybody got around. Yep.
All right. Well, I don't have much prepared for my hosting duties here. So what are you guys smoking on?
Ooh, it's a good one. I'm smoking on Spartan Glue, which I haven't had in my garden in probably 6 months. So it's the oldest strain in my garden, and it's nice to be smoking on her again. It's funny.
Is it old? I mean, it's been curing, or it's just a fresh harvest of an old?
No, there's a fresh harvest. It's the oldest strain as far. So what I mean by that is the one that I've had the longest. The way that I run my garden is perpetual, and I have my keeper strains, but I always I always have at least one new strain going, and that new strain is up against the keeper strains, and it can replace them if it's better. So if it's been around the longest, it's been up against the most competitors, and it's still in the game. So that's one of those that's probably going to be around for a long time.
What's the cross
growing in a game show format?
So the cross is unknown. That's what kind of makes it another special. But
oh, nice.
I was told it was GG4. I went to I was early on in my career. I made my way by nobody wanted to, or either they didn't know how to, or they couldn't clone or whatever. So I would just make a killing in the springtime on clones. And everybody wants to wheel and deal when it comes to clones. And so one of the deals I had with one of the persons was they traded me genetics for some clones, and they had GG4. And well, that's what they told me it was. I came home and started growing it, and it looks similar to GG4, but it's not GG4. And after the fact, after I picked up that cut, I ran into MedGrower 1 and got the legit cut of GG4. So I even run them side by side, and they're two different plants. So at the time I was a caregiver, and I just didn't feel right calling it GG4 because that's not what it fucking was. And so I just called it Spartan Glue because I think it's a glue cross. It's very similar to glue as far as the way the bud structure is, but the plant structure, the plant morphology is different. I think it's crossed with I don't know. I've guessed 100 things, but to me it seems it's some kind of a sativa it's been crossed with. I don't know, some kind of like a haze maybe or something. I don't know.
Well, at least it ain't cookies.
yeah, it's not that. Not cookies.
What are you smoking on, Noah?
Oh, I got a bunch of stuff right now. I've just been so lazy, but I've been meaning to post to Instagram. But man, I got a bunch of stuff. Every winter I gear up and push real hard. That way, when the heat comes, I can take a little pressure off my mini split. So I got Purple Punch, Platinum. Let's see here. I was just looking at Overflow, Gelato, Sunset Sherbet, Gorilla Glue. I got a bunch of shit right now. So I've been just kind of, like I said, I save it up that way. Sometimes I'll turn off a light when the heat gets really cracking around here. But yeah, so I got a bunch of stuff. I was messing around taking pictures the other day, and then of course, like a space kid, I only posted one. So.
Yeah,
you're not the only one that does that, dude. You're not the only one. I delete probably 30 pictures to the one I post.
I hear you.
I know many photographers who take thousands and they'll only select a couple of them from that, but they can also do that 100 pics a second thing. So I don't know.
Yeah. I could field it, but Spartan, you want to talk about sour diesel tangy asked in the chat about humic and fulvic acid. I can toss that to you first.
So they said, fulvic acid, humic said, do they both primarily assist in nutrient uptake? Okay, so this is the way that I boil down fulvic and humic acids. Pretty much the same thing. The biggest difference between the two is particle size. And the particle size will determine its application. The smaller particle size would be used in a foliar application because you're trying to get it in through the stomata. Whereas now I lost my train of thought in mid-thought. Thanks, Spartan Glue. Oh, the particle size. So the bigger particle size is something you'd want to mix with water in like a root drench. Yeah. Now, if I remember correctly, it was fulvic and humic. I think the humic would be the larger of the two particle sizes. Am I right on that?
Yeah. It includes so fulvic is really a subset of humic acids.
Yeah. They just turn into each other. The bigger one.
Well, yeah, it's it's just the certain range. So fulvic acid, like you're saying, is a finer particle size, but humic acid is inclusive of fulvic acids. So if something has humic acid, it usually includes also some particle sizes that are within the range of fulvic acid. If it's sold specifically as a fulvic acid, that's because it's sort of refined to that finer level. But they both are used for the same purposes, and they both can be used in a root drench. I agree that fulvic is superior for foliar application. So, I'm smoking on Shining Silver Haze. It really interesting. When I first harvested this one, it was a little bit too racy for a while, but after a longer cure, I don't know if it kept sort of maturing a little bit. as it cured, but the terpenes or the cannabinoids seem to settle down a little bit. It's a much more mellow experience now than it was just a few weeks after it was harvested, which I'm happy about, because the first few times I was smoking on it, I was like, oh man, this is a little bit too, I don't know, anxious of a high. I'm not a big fan of anxious highs.
And that's like where your heart starts beating really fast, that kind of a thing.
It's kind of more jittery. Yeah, I don't know if my heart really start beating really fast, but just kind of feeling on edge, not sort of comfortable. It's like the opposite of couch lock, you know what I mean? Where it's like you're kind of a little bit uneasy and you feel like you want to smoke a bowl, but then you're kind of thinking, I'm not sure if that's what I feel like this in the first place.
Is that a super silver haze cross? What's the
it's just one of so my understanding is it's just like the cut of super silver haze that RQS has been curating, and they call it shining silver haze, but I don't think it's crossed with anything else. I think it's just a specific cut of super silver haze.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah, I've grown it several times. This time I was definitely sort of the most peculiar. I have a ton of it. I only grew 2 plants in that run, and it yielded a lot, like over half a pound. So I better start to like it.
What was the flowering time on it? Is it pretty long, or?
Yeah, I took it, and that's what I was thinking. I might not have taken it long enough this time. I took it like 11 weeks.
11 weeks. I don't think I've grown anything that long.
11 weeks from flip, so like 10 weeks of real flowering time.
Okay.
But yeah,
still, that's I like them a little bit shorter than that if I can get them. 9 weeks is like,
it's one of the strains that you wouldn't grow it for a fast turnover, and for that reason, some of these strains you'll never really find out there, because a lot of commercial growers or growers growing for speed or whatever are more concerned about that. They won't invest the time that it takes to grow one of these strains. So it's always been one of the things that I've been willing to do, is grow the longer flowering strains. But it definitely, I think maybe one more week would have been a better idea, just based on, what do you think about that? You think it kept sort of maturing in harvest, and that's why post harvest, and that's why it's more mellow now?
Well, did you say you harvested it at, you feel like you should have harvested it another week, but you feel like that it's more mellow? I would say if you wanted to be more mellow.
Well, it started off really racy, and it's just settled down through.
Oh, just in the cure.
Through a couple of months of curing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's just the cure process that does that.
Yeah. So it's a good thing to think about too, if you do harvest a plant. I mean, I know a lot of people can't just like, I'm going to wait 3 months before I start smoking on this one, but it definitely was not sort of my favorite experience earlier, and I'm liking it now.
Yeah, I've noticed that with my cultivars too. They'll continue to, what I say, age, or cure. So I wonder if there's a difference as far as, okay, so this is the way my mind's working, right? My highest mind right now. So if you harvested, say whatever the harvest, we'll say it's a 10-week strain. Say if you harvested a 10-week strain at 10 weeks, and we'll say that hang dry is, well, I'm going to say 2 weeks, but you guys are going to say shorter, aren't you? We'll say a week. It doesn't matter the time. We'll say that the dry time is a week.
Yeah.
If you harvested it a week earlier and dried it the same week, but cured it for the following week, so it would be on the same total age and cure as if you harvested it on time.
Right.
And tested it then, would it be the same?
Probably not, right?
Probably not. Yeah, no, it's going to mature differently when it's still like alive on the plant and getting fed by the plant than it will.
But I wonder if that maturation rate, like I don't know how it could even be measured, but I wonder how the maturation rate or the curing rate, like how does that change? Like if it's alive, does that maturation rate, is that faster? Is it maturing?
Well, is it analogous to like tomatoes on like vine ripened fruit versus not? Is it sort of analogous there?
I'm not sure, because we're talking about just the
although the way that they ripen green tomatoes is sort of the reason that they don't taste particularly good. So I don't know if that's a totally fair analogy. I mean, we're not,
Yeah,
we sort of are. So what they do with the green tomatoes is they just hit them with ethylene gas to ripen them quickly at the point of consumption or at the point of final distribution.
But they don't have those sugars, is I guess the point I'm trying to make. They don't like, right, like what you're saying, like if you separate
they ripen
from the
them
plant,
too, right?
Yeah, they separate from the plant. None of those, there's like, you can't make something from nothing, as we famously know. And I just feel like that's kind of similar here. Those sort of metabolic processes and things, like those halt when the tissue dies, right?
So there's three things.
And things happen afterwards, right? But, different
well, there's
things.
Three things that I think are going to really change things. And regardless of sort of how long you keep the plants in each condition, I think that the way it ripens will be different when it's still like a plant growing in the ground. It will be different when it's in a sort of open air exchange drying initially. And then if you do limit the air exchange, like in a jar, I think that will also affect the way that it continues to ripen, or sort of what happens to other things like terpenes. So I definitely think that we're playing around with a few of the variables. It's just interesting to think, if you take time off of the first one, how do you compensate for that sort of later? And I'm sort of thinking it might be a couple of months in the jars to make up for like a week that I harvested it early, potentially.
So like, I wonder if you could, in effect, fix a too early harvest by an extra long cure.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm essentially sort of thinking about. I mean, that's what that's what this got me thinking about, because I was thinking I had harvested it too early. Now it's a whole lot better. So I think you probably can. I think there's also probably a limit to that.
Oh, right. Yeah. There's got to be like at least some level of maturity of the trichome. It has to be at least present and physically there.
Right.
Yeah. So you can't be like before that for sure.
Right. Like I might have made up for a week by doing 2 months of curing. If you had done 2 weeks early, we might be talking like 8 months of curing. And if it was like 3 weeks early, then you're just going to be screwed. You're not going to be able to sort of make up for it, probably. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, that's good for people to know. If you feel like you could have went another week with it, just be patient.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep that in that jar, and keep it for another week. Try it again.
Don't like it's usually worth it.
Yeah, don't consume it and be unhappy with it. If you feel like it's it could be cured for longer, cure for longer.
Yeah. No, that was I think that's a potential lesson from all of this. Anyways, I'm happy.
Well, I would say that I think that 2 weeks. If you're pulling 2 weeks early, I mean, it would be strain dependent. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? I've grown quite a few different strains, and there's certain ones, like you said, that, at the beginning, you don't really know it. Oh, yeah, I'll just push it 56, 57, 58 days. And then you're like, oh, wait, no, that's a 65-day. Yeah, you probably get away with that. But if you have a 56-day plant, like, something that's 8 weeks and you're pulling it at 6,
I agree.
Tough.
The other part of that is sort of, if you think about it in a percentage wise, this was like a 12-week strain that I harvested maybe at 11. So you're talking like an 8-week strain that you're harvesting at 6. That's a much bigger percentage of like the total time it would have to flower. So yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I don't think you can correct big sins, but you might be able to correct minor ones. The other thing though is don't also use this as an excuse to harvest early, because like harvesting a few days early is going to cost you a couple extra months curing to sort of get back for those few days early. Oh, sorry, Brandon's here. Let's let Brandon into the room.
Oh yeah, there's a Chad Westport brought up a good question in chat in YouTube here, and he says, do the plants reach maturity based on light hours received, or does it reach maturity based on the time lived? And I just made a comment saying that I think the question for all of us is more the trichomes. I mean, the plant maturity at that point, towards harvest. Yes, you want it to be like in senescence and all that, but I think what we're really most concerned of is we're growing we're growing for the trichomes. That's what we're trichome farmers.
And light hitting the plant happens over time anyways. So I feel like kind of fundamentally time is the more significant factor, right? Because it affects everything.
I agree, but there definitely seems to be. Yeah, sorry, man.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I was going to make a MASH reference. Yeah.
I agree that time is the more significant factor. Like if you're thinking about a flowering period, but I've definitely also seen that growers that are really fully lit in their space mature faster and harvest a little bit earlier than growers that are underlit in the space. So I also think that there is sort of a role to the total sum of photons that the plant receives and how that will affect the rate of its maturation. And if you're really sort of hitting it right at the limit every day, it's going to mature faster than if you're sort of well below the limit every day.
It's like almost every question that we get asked, it's like the answer is like everything, because everything ties into the next
right. But I think again, I think you're mainly dealing with time there. If you're fully lit, then you might, be a few days ahead of somebody that was underlit, but it's not going to be, twice as fast or something like that.
Blue Grown in the chat says, welcome, Russ Brandon. Just popped the Limarilla. So should we let Brandon?
Yeah, let's give Brandon a chance to introduce himself. Welcome, Brandon. No, we can't hear you still. Yeah, there you go.
Myself. What's going on, everybody? Brandon Rust here. You can find me on Instagram at rust.brandon. Glad to be here. I was just driving home from the farm, always busy doing something. So yeah, I'm here. Limarilla is great, man. I have a bunch of that running at Majestic right now. Phenomenal variety. It's very, very pungent. It's got a unique terpene profile. I think everybody's going to really, really enjoy it.
Still one of my all-time favorites.
You're going to have to get me some of that one of these grows.
I've got, I keep saying this, but I got one seed. I'm going to do one feminized seed of Orangegasm, and then I've got Brandon's gear going up behind it. I'm going to find that. I'm going to have to get with you again, Brandon, and figure out what your code was for the MAC cross, because I'm doing that one first.
Dude, did you do the Limarilla F2 breeder's cut times MAC? Did I send that?
I don't know, but I can go dig them up if you want me to go look them up right now. I'll grab them. And
if you have that,
okay.
You're so stoked. That shit is fucking insane, bro.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go fucking look. What? I'll be right back.
Okay, so this cross that I did with the Limarilla, I have like a no seed buying policy. Some people might know. If I start buying seeds, it's over. I'm gonna be broke all the time. So, but I broke my policy, and I ended up buying a pack of the Mac V2 when it dropped. Somebody iBean pop in on like IG had bunches of packs. Him and his boys like went to the drop in LA and grabbed a bunch of packs. I bought one from him, and I popped all the seeds, and I only had one female plant out of the whole pack. Everything else was male. So I was like, I was just like, fuck. So I planted all the males, and I was just looking at them. I was like, dude, this male looks super rad. And I grabbed that, and I just started doing some crosses in my tent here. And one of the clones that I hit was my breeder cut of the Limarilla. And I just did a couple of tested maybe 10 of them out, and they're absolutely insane, dude. They stack super fucking hard. There's no water leaf on it at all. So it's like a trimmer's dream come true. And they're going to finish in 54 days. Solid, crazy, nice ass nuggets. Super stoked.
All right, here we go, dude. I have a clear vial with it looks like either a 7 or an L on it.
Yep.
What is that?
That's the Limarilla times Mac V2.
Oh, well, it's staying right here then. That'll be popped. Fucking, that'd be the first one that I pop. Hold on, let's see what else I got. TB.
TB is the Trainwreck Blueberry times Mac V2.
Oh, that's fucking the next one. That's number 2. Hold on, I gotta put this in order. And I got 3 of them. These ones are labeled. Oh wait, no. This, these ones are just blank. There's nothing.
Oh snap! I don't know, dude.
But I think, yeah, in the same package, I got these stickers. I got the it looks like it says original glue, which actually, it's funny. These 3 stickers I have already in packs. So I have your original glue.
Okay, so that one right there, that original glue times Lime 1 BX is phenomenal, dude. I'm growing a bunch of it right now. It is so good. I'm so stoked on it.
All right, then this was the one that really caught my eye. Is a Purple Kush MK.
Yeah, old school frames, dude. So those have a little bit longer flowering time, but you're gonna get a lot of the old school type of smell.
That's what I was
like
thinking.
the Kush, like that hashy earth coffee, also mixed in with some fruit comes up, but mostly, and then you'll find some skunk in there as well.
Well, what's the highs like on that?
The high is
it kind of indica high?
No, it's more of a mental high, but it also is if you smoke a good amount, you'll also be sedated, but it's more of a uplifting kind of racy high. It really brings that on, I think, from the MK Ultra.
And this guy.
Yeah, that's
the one that I was really thinking about for the Limarilla in there. I was really gonna go after this one too.
That's really good too. But that Gorilla Glue 4, I mean, they're all good, man. They're all really good. But I'm like super stoked on.
So this one. So hold on. You tell me this order. You tell me if this order's wrong. This is the order I got it in. I got it in that Mac Cross, the 7 or the 3 or whatever, or 7 or whatever the symbol is. L. So that Mac Cross is 1, first place.
Yeah.
And this one's 2 because this is that other Mac Cross.
No. That is
still. The Trainwreck Blueberry. I mean,
that's still being tested, right? The Trainwreck Blueberry is being tested. There's a couple of people running it right now. So far, no harms or anything.
But you said Trainwreck and Blueberry. How can that not be fucking fire?
Dude, and that's the thing, right? So it's these old school crosses from 20 years ago. You know how I did this project with a bunch of old stuff and we hunted a bunch of old stuff? That Trainwreck Blueberry MK Ultra is a beast, dude. They have these massive frames on them, and when they put on flower, you know, they're a little bit longer flowering time, but they fucking yield massive. The colas are huge. You guys saw some of the pictures.
Yeah, dude, that's why I was excited about it.
It looked like I was holding fucking Christmas trees.
Yeah, it's fucking huge.
I remember those. Those were massive.
That's not something I would even want to try to do outdoors. That's something I would want to stick inside and just blow out a fucking 4x4 with it.
Yeah. So I actually in our group chat on IG, I sent some pictures of that that Limarilla breeder's cut, my breeder cut times Mac V2 at day 42 at 6 weeks. And you can kind of see like how it stacks up and like what the like it's really, really hashy. It's really nice.
I'm fucking stoked on that, dude, because that's like that's my favorite fucking shit to smoke right now is Mac 1. So of course I'm going for those Macs first. But I'm stoked on getting that lime too. So which one's more limey, you think? The original glue times lime BX or the Limarilla times lime 1 BX?
Okay, so the Limarilla times lime 1 BX has a profile similar to my Death Breath. And my Death Breath has a very unique terpene profile. It's like a tangerine grapefruit. No. You know what it is? This is what it is. It's hibiscus grapefruit. It's hibiscus grapefruit on the front end, and then the back end is like a kind of sweet rotten.
Yes, rotten floral, I would say.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting, but it's very pungent.
Yeah, I think people know this, but we don't talk about it as much as we talked about some of your other crosses, Brandon. If I can insert myself for a moment, I just want to reiterate that the Death Breath is probably, up there in the top 5 for me. Maybe my favorite, especially that you've grown personally. So, and I do feel like it's got that like ripe, overripe, rot, floral, fruity kind of feeling to it. But it's been a while since, so I should really get my hands on some more and try it again and describe it.
If you're
Sounds
out in
awesome.
Oklahoma,
Hey,
we are always growing it.
Nice.
let me jump in to let Tao, who just joined us, introduce himself. Welcome, Tao.
Hello, everyone. Chat panel. Yeah, time got away from me. I didn't realize how late it had gotten. It's great to be here. I'm the American One on YouTube and the American One _with_18s on the IGs. And it's great to be here.
All right. Let me address one quick question here. Cannabis Flower asking chat if there's a EC nutrient regimen that you could give multiple different strains at different stages of veg. Yeah, you can always just compromise a little bit cannabis and back off EC a little bit if you have, go to the lowest EC that any of your strains or your plants will sort of tolerate. And there's not a huge difference in nutrient element ratio in the different veg stages. So you can just basically compromise on the late veg nutrient blend with the EC that sort of the most fickle plant will tolerate, and you'll be fine there as a compromise. I wanted to get back to Smart Poker asked in chat, and this I think ties into some of the conversations you guys are having about strains and terpenes and all of that. But he's asking about getting hit with a smell right after the lights go off. And I'm curious if anybody on the panel has noticed a pungent smell associated with lights off.
I think that I have, and I mentioned in the chat, and I also mentioned that the description kind of reminds me of like petrichor, that sort of like after it rains, like bacterial associated smell, or microbial, I should say, maybe. But
yeah, it's funny you said that about after it rains, because I was thinking it might be ozone related to the lights.
Good point too.
And when he first brought this up to me separately, that's what I was really sort of thinking about, because a lot of people will notice a sort of distinct smell of ozone. But he's claiming it's more of like a chlorophyll plant-based smell. So maybe you're right with being bacterial based or something along those lines.
I think it's mostly fucking humidity, just fucking the room humidity just going sky high.
I do feel like things when they get like, and I think there's a reason for this. I imagine it has to do with like how gases move and stuff, but definitely when it gets more humid, I do feel like I smell more things, or like there's sort of a greater complexity, maybe kind of like the lees in a whiskey glass or something like that.
Yeah,
It's the
interesting.
relative humidity, because the lights are going down, so the heat drops, the air has nowhere to go, or not the air, the water has nowhere to go in the air. The air can no longer hold as much water, and things just get more humid in there.
Yeah.
How quickly?
It's like rain, it's super humid.
How quickly did the person notice, Doctor?
Yes, Smart Poker. Like, how is this? As soon as the lights turn off, or like within 10 minutes, or?
Because I know, like when I would sneak in right when the light's about to go on, it definitely has much more potent stank than like halfway through the light cycle for sure.
Yeah, and that's related to why we harvest plants at the end of a dark period as well.
Right.
Like the lights burn
True.
off a lot of the terpenes and the cannabinoids, and they're still be produced during the dark period and can accumulate more.
That's
I
why
understand
teas
that
are
part, but it's this immediately after the lights go off thing that is curious.
I was just gonna interject and say that that's how they grow shade-grown tea, for example, like and the various like compounds that you're looking for in tea are going to be more or less depending on that, and also like leaf bud size. If it's like a bigger leaf, it's going to be a little bit more woodier and drier and maybe more complex, but like certain teas anyways. And then you process them with a pan fry or a boil or whatever. But like white teas and certain green teas are like the newest buds, so they're very soft, they're very pliable. A lot of trichomes themselves, and a different sort of ratio of compounds too. So I think it's very similar to what we're talking about here.
I was gonna make a joke and say I wouldn't know. I don't go in the room when the lights are off. But I already gave myself up when I started talking about it.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm often in there just before the light. So during the flowering period, one of my common things to do is like 10 minutes before the lights are supposed to go off, I'll flip them off and then use those 10 minutes to do training or whatever other issues I have to do in the tent, and then just seal it up at the end of that. So I'm often in there. I mean, and I get hit with the smell for sure, but it's just because like I opened the tent and went in there. So
you know, you just inspired me to make a joke about putting on some night vision goggles and going in there. And then I remembered, well, how much IR exposure do you think a plant, maybe this is, you know, species dependent, but do you think that would have much effect? Because I know certain spectra. No, right?
IR does not have an effect on the photoperiodism.
Oh, certainly not that. But I wonder, well, I guess that's the most.
Well, that's what we're worried about when we go in there without the lights on.
Yeah. Well, like sometimes people supplement with like UV, for example, and I think IR too sometimes, or like maybe low red. So it just made me think. The spectrum question is an interesting one.
Well, there's night vision cameras. I have a night vision camera that blasts an IR beam across the canopy, and the camera picks that up, and you can see inside the tent at night, and that's totally safe to use for the photo period.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I just meant for from like a physiological stimulation perspective. Maybe not for photoperiodism, but more for like secondary metabolite production or something. I don't know. Again, it probably doesn't have much of an effect.
Yeah, I don't even know of studies looking at running like UV light during the dark period. I think there have been some. I doubt that IR would have a significant effect for like the maturation of or the development of cannabinoids.
What about just general plant physiology? Because there's several people now in chat saying and describing it like a fresh cut grass. They said within seconds of the lights turning off. Is there a like does the plant like exhale out its stomata like as soon as the lights turn out or turn off like that? Or is there would there be any kind of like some kind of a word stress or something to make it?
The plant will react primarily actually to the changing climate rather than the light suddenly going off. So the plant will respond to the rising, to the dropping vapor pressure deficit.
I think that's more like pineapples and other sorts of plants that do that. It's such a basic question, but I'm even forgetting. Isn't that C4 or CAM? CAM. Is that the CAM photosynthesis process?
What about it?
Am I thinking of the right one for pineapples?
Oh God, are pineapples a CAM plant? They very well may be, yeah.
Yeah, the one, and that's the one where like you do all of the photosynthesis at night, and then you make like malic acid or whatever it is, and then that way you don't have to be constantly dealing with the
the CAM plants only exchange carbon dioxide at night.
That's what it is. Okay, yeah. So that's what Spartan was saying reminded me of that. So like some plants have definitely evolved that way for sure.
I was just trying to figure out why you would smell more chlorophyll when the lights were off, because you'd think there'd be more chlorophyll like production and all that when the lights were on and not when they were off. And why? My brain's not figuring it out and it's bugging me.
Well, I think you were actually onto something initially, Spartan, with the rising humidity. I mean, I think that we can sort of pick up on that, and it will make things smell more pungent.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe with the rising humidity makes the leaves swell a little bit, or.
And if you were running a dry, if you were running high VPD, causing the plants to it's hard to imagine what would cause the plants to certainly like start putting off more smell in that situation. But I'll think about it a little bit more from that angle. I had been thinking it was more related to the light itself and potentially smelling something coming from the light.
I mean, it makes sense that you would smell terpenes more in the night with it's a lower temperature, but I mean, not within seconds. I think I'd imagine it'd take a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's got to be the plant responding to something, doing something, or it's because the climate is changing that you're able to pick up on it more.
We all know it's the radio. It's at the radio wave frequency that's really at, though.
All right. Did I miss any questions in chat? I was sort of busy with my own keeping up with the conversation.
Oh, we have one right here by Shredder0911. Can you ask Brandon how his Royal Kush is doing and tell him mine appears to be dudded or sickly? Well,
that's too bad,
just
Shredder.
did.
You're muted, Brandon.
And when you say dudded or sickly, could you expand on that? Because when I have found, just from an IPM perspective, a lot of people say a lot of things when they mean dudding. So, like, could you be more descriptive?
I'm not having any issues with anything as far as Royal Kush goes. They're a really.
Can you turn up a little bit, Brandon?
Sure. Ooh, can I? Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yes.
Better, yeah.
Okay, maybe if I just put the mic a little bit closer. It's a very, very short, stocky plant, and it also has really big, huge fan leaves. So it doesn't like veg very fast because it just wants to kind of branch out everywhere. So it does require a little bit more maintenance, but I'm not having any issues. But this is also the first round that I'm flowering it out right now.
Brandon, let me ask you a quick question. Do you like the short, stocky ones with the super fat dinosaur leaves, or do you like what Spartan was alluding to? He likes the stretchers that fill in the space. So you have a preference, or? And I don't want to speak for Spartan, man.
Yeah, I don't like those stretchy ones. I like them at work. I don't like them at home.
Oh, okay.
I love this abacus plant that I've already talked about, but like it stretches so much and it does chunk up, but it's purple and lengthy and it just towers over all the other ones, and I find that aesthetically pleasing, but maybe it's not the best,
For a commercial production, I like things that are a little more manageable. I like to not have to,
5 trellises deep.
Yeah, lots of trellising and all that kind of stuff. So I do like plants that are a little shorter and stocky. The gas is like that we're running. We have some other varieties that are like that are nice and short and stocky.
The only thing that I don't like about them is the veg. If you want a bigger plant, you got to give it extra veg time, or I do. Maybe you don't have that issue.
Yeah, you do have to veg them a little bit longer, but they usually yield pretty.
Yeah.
Or here's the payoff for something like the gas cut that I run. You might put a little bit more veg time on it, but it's also going to produce more, and it's just going to finish faster. So there's kind of trade-offs, and it's all cultivar dependent because different things react differently, and it's all contingent basically on your environment, how consistent things stay, your feeding regimens, integrated pest management. I mean, you have to look at
All
things
of it,
from a holistic perspective.
And like, especially, I'll just say this, not like implying anything here, and probably Shredder would have noticed this, but I do associate kind of like almost like a pre-senescence that can happen sometimes post flip with especially aphid pressure. So like cannabis aphid, rice root aphid. If it's a pretty good population, maybe like 50 plus, 100 plus on a single plant, I've noticed that can sometimes cause the plant to get yellow and have leaf abscission where they fall off, and maybe even some like purplish and yellowish too. Very, very pretty fall colors. And When you flip to flower, sometimes plants just kind of, I mean, it's like bolting, like they start to start that process. But it's hard for me to know, and I do think a lot of things are very cultivar dependent, just hard to really say. But I guess it's stocky, so maybe that's why it kind of seems sort of stunted, perhaps in that way. It'd be interesting to see pictures.
That could be a possibility.
Who was that, Utah?
No,
Or I heard-
no, it
Oh
wasn't.
no, but way to call
how-
him out.
like,
That's good. That's good. Get Tao involved.
Did he how far in did he notice the dudding? Because like when I have like seeds, then like sometimes they're just out of the gate they're screwed up.
Hey, I mean, that's gonna happen sometimes, right? Or
right? Is he talking about like halfway through flower that things going south, or is it?
well, it seemed
Did
like
did he say? Yeah.
well, yeah, and happy to read a reiteration, but my interpretation was that, and you can tell me if we're right, Shredder, that
Wait,
maybe it was always kind of small.
Ask him if if he also won the auction or whatever, and he got the 2 cuts as well. Ask him if he's the other guy.
Oh, okay.
Let's see if he's listening, and he'll respond.
But yeah, like I could see how if a plant is particularly stocky, and that like short stunted growth is a sign of like bee curly top virus, letosclerosis virus, hop latent viroid, hemp phytoplasmas, a bunch of things that people don't have a lot of experience with, or things that are kind of cryptic in the beginning.
Things that are hard to see.
Things that are hard to see, things that you might not associate because they require vectors and that kind of a thing. And only like 2 of those things that I mentioned, the phytoplasma and the hop latent, are even known to be possible to like vertically transmit through seed. The other stuff, not so much. Lower leaves didn't develop, possibly due to fat top leaves. And yes, it was from the fire auction.
So you might want to grab a microscope, and you might want to check your cuts for hemp russet mite.
Uh-oh.
So you're stunting, if the tops kind of seem maybe like a little brownish, like they're kind of not growing very well, go get your microscope and go see and go look at your cuts.
If the leaves are I've got a great video on my YouTube channel, Zentanol, that goes over what russet mite damage looks like on cannabis. Also broad mite damage, which looks very similar. The leaves get this sort of rough, corrugated look to them that I would definitely ascribe to as sickly. So if that's what you think you might have, that's a possibility. I will say that hemp russet mite typically doesn't do well if it doesn't have a host for very long, but I suppose we don't know a whole lot about it specifically. A lot of russet mites, like unless they're able to overwinter, they can't last very long without a host because their life cycle is very short. And very fecund, and that's how they compensate. So maybe that's a possibility. This is just one additional reason why we need more research on various pests, especially for cannabis.
Oh, dead air. I think that falls on me.
No, it falls on me for causing it. It's very difficult to segue after that sort of rambling.
Oh, I know. I can ramble forever, but it's the figuring out what to do at the end of the ramble that always trips me up too.
And I also don't want to like bogart the conversation, so.
I get it. I totally get it. Well, let's see. I don't think we ever asked Tao what he's smoking on. What are you smoking on, Tao?
Actually, I'm smoking on some of that time wreck that I had posted on IG a little while back. I'm smoking a whole bunch of different things, but right now.
Did you say train wreck or time wreck? Because time wreck sounds like a cool name.
Yeah, time wreck. It's it's a strain from Subcool. It has a strain called the Arcadia Blood Wreck, which is a train wreck, I guess, which is red in color. And that's how it got its name, I suppose. Yeah, time wreck. But yeah, it's one of my favorite plants, and it clones like nothing. It clones like no other plant I ever had. I could just stick it in dirt and forget about it. It'd be, green in 3 days almost. That's one of the reasons why I still have it. I've had it a long ass time too now. Sometimes I think the plants pick you, because a couple times I'm like, I think I'm gonna let this thing go, and it wouldn't let me let it go. So I think I'm gonna keep it forever now.
Yeah, it really established that symbiosis for you.
Those
Yeah,
are the best plants.
It
It's
is a
great.
performer. No matter what I give it, no matter and I just had this happen. I had one in one space, one in another space. The one that looked so healthy and great, it just wasn't quite as potent as the one that got a little bit beat up. And it's weird. It's just, they look so different. The one that got a little beat up has like tight nugs, and the other one, it has, I wanted to call them airy, but they're more airy. They're less
More
dense.
elongated,
it's weird.
kinda.
Yeah. It was a very bizarre experience. It's the same exact cut, and so different in the same building. It's just one flight lower. So
Yeah, well,
it has
stress
a
response,
slight difference. Yeah, and a slight different environmental as well. But yeah, it is amazing. Look, like if I showed you, if the two plants were next to each other, you couldn't smell them. You would say they're not the same plant. That's how different they looked.
I think it echoes back to what Dr. M. Coco was saying about kind of like in a private growing situation where you don't have like the certain commercial pressures. It's a little bit easier and more incentivized, I think, to like let one that's a longer variety kind of go longer. And personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with not doing the opposite, but I've always been kind of a let it go really long kind of person. I like to let it just get super. Of course, there's some calculated risks that I'm taking by doing that, but that's always been kind of my style. Kind of like with fruits and stuff. Like I like to let it get ripe and juicy, before, unless I'm specifically wanting to make some, green tomato on the grill or something like that.
Wow, I've never had a green tomato.
Well, I'm not a big tomato fan myself, but some people like them.
There you go. Yeah, I've been trying to hold out as long as
green
possible.
tomatoes, Matthew.
Say what?
You got green tomatoes on the brain today.
Yeah. I don't know why I have tomato. Well, I did cut myself recently on a kitchen tool, so maybe I'm thinking of fruits that are easy to cut. But I don't personally eat much tomatoes, so I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah, they're slimy and nasty. But I did also, we talked about this in some other place, how different, if you harvested 8 weeks or harvested 10 weeks, or even like wait till it's dead, it changes. It totally will change the taste, at least profile in some strains, and it will change the high too. And I think this is truth. I don't know, but I think the longer you let them go, the longer your high will last. When you smoke it, like one joint, smoke a certain amount, if you let it, you get an 8 or 7 weeker, you'll be stoned for 7 or 8 weeks worth. But if you let it go 10 weeks and smoke a joint, you're stoned for 10 weeks worth. I think it lasts longer for some reason. I might be totally off, but that's.
Yeah. Yellow Tree in the chat asks, Brandon, so let's ask Brandon about his TK by TK NL5 haze by Lime BX1 and what to expect. I'm in second week of flower. The plants are thick and the stem rub is unexplainably amazing. In what way is it? Oh, you said you couldn't explain it, but can you try to explain it?
That's hysterical. He's like, explain. Go ahead and explain the unexplainable.
Yes, exactly. How can I ask such a folly?
No, that's good.
The ones that I've ran, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the NL5 haze. It is the type of haze that has more of the like front end pine lemon cleaner type of smell, they put on real serious weight, but they also take 12 13 weeks to finish. The Triangle Kush crossed into that because I ran the Triangle Kush times NO5 haze is a lot shorter and stockier. It doesn't really have that like as pungent of a profile, and it finishes faster, 8-9 weeks. This particular cross it's interesting because it does take maybe like 9-10 weeks to finish, but it's that super upfront NL5 haze profile, but it's almost got I think maybe some terpenoline as one of the main components in it too, because it has kind of that like a sour as well in it, not just that the pine and lemon, but it has this like it's just really pungent. It's so strong, and then it stacks insane, man. I have some pictures on my phone. All the side branching colas stack like they were tops. So the thing's going to produce really well, the ones that I have that I'm running right now. Let's see if I can find. I can usually share pictures like on IG to our group. Yeah, but they're nice, man. I don't think I'm gonna run them commercially because I have a bunch of stuff for the indoor facility that's taking like 54 to 56 days, and that's a lot more appealing than 70 from an investor's perspective, and that's kind of who I'm trying to please. And so use cultivars that finish fast and produce well and have really nice pretty bag appeal, and just kind of check all the boxes and just try to run those.
What are some of your favorites that you're running right now, Brennan?
Yep. So we're going to have a new lineup. We're kind of switching everything out at the indoor facility. We are going to be running the gas number 4 cut, a lot of that because it always sells out immediately. Everybody likes it. And what that is, it's Mac 1 times Starfighter. It's great. Great variety, finishes extremely fast, puts on good weight. We have another Mac, anything crossed into Mac right now is just, it hits super hard. They stack, they're frosted over, great bag appeal. I have some blueberry Mac muffin, which is blueberry muffin times Mac times blueberry muffin. And that is actually just, it's going to be an amazing lead. I can't wait to sample some of that because it's a citrus blueberry, like the blueberry train wreck, very similar to that profile. However, it has some menthol in it as well. So I like that. Those are going to be we're going to be running those. Another variety that we're going to run is the Alien Tarantula times Magic Melon, the Bruce Banner times Chem of the Crop, which is Chem D times Chem 91 I-95. And then there are...
That just all funky, that one? That can bring a bunch of funk to that strain?
It is more dominant. The Banner's more dominant.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And they stack. Like these were really short kind of plants that didn't get a lot of edge time. They didn't grow very big. And they have just, really nice size coals on them.
Tested pretty high too. Those Banner always test pretty high usually.
Yeah, and that's a good thing too, because people look at the tests and they want to see high THC and they want to see high THC and bag appeal. That's the driver. Fancy name on it. You got to slap a gelato or
Yep. But you can make up for THC if you have color, if you're like purple or
yeah. That's what's unique about like the gas cut. It gets streaked with purple. The Mac Muffin is like a blue strain. If you guys aren't really familiar with like the kind of
Like almost silver color, kind of.
yeah, they're like silver blue, and then they have these kind of almost is it maybe like almost chartreuse? Is that the color? It's like a pinkish purple. I don't know if that's the right color.
I don't know what chartreuse is, but pinkish purple, I can imagine that.
Chartreuse is like a green color.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, way
Like
off.
yellow green. The yellow
Oh,
green.
no.
Like puce? Do you mean like puce is like, let me just check myself. Puce, isn't that like a purple? Yeah, like a pinkish, like a matte pink
Yeah.
color kind of thing.
So there's a lot of different stuff that we're going to be running there. And the apple mochi gelato from Alien Genetics is really nice. It finishes fast. It's got great all kinds of color in it. It's one of those ones that it's going to look really nice. And
A little birdie just told me that I got some apple stuff in my room. It's going to be coming out in the next couple months. So yeah, I'm excited about all that kind of stuff. You sound like you got some really good shit right there, man.
yeah, I'm most excited about what I'm doing. Okay, so I finally got my racks. The electric for the box is almost done. All the LEDs are already in there, all the photon tech lights. And I'm going to be this Monday. My racks are going to be completed. I'm going to get plants in there, get power in there. And I have the Black Lime Reserve. I have the gas cut times Mac V2, the Limarilla times Mac V2. I have the pancakes from Aficionado. And then I have a bunch of the high divorce rate from My Name is Earl. And those are all going to just be, they're all like, 50 plus Pheno hunts, of each variety. So I should be able to find some decent stuff in there.
Nice. Look forward to seeing that one. See what you come up with. The new crosses you'll make.
Hey, Brandon.
I'm going to do some things. I have the 1997 Indiana bubblegum, or a cut of Indiana bubblegum that he's had since 1997.
I smoked bud in 1997 though, man. I mean, I don't know. There's some good strains there, but there are some, yeah.
No, I know what you're saying. The thing is, when you take a lot of these older things that have these,
they got other things in them.
We have the technology. We can rebuild him.
Exactly. Dude.
Yes, it's always a source of crop genetic material. So
everyone's special in that way. Yeah. Everyone has something to contribute.
So I crossed
maybe some susceptibility genes.
I also do have a couple of releases of the last bit of the Lime 1 BX crosses that I made. I just wanted to do some final testing and stuff on them because I did the PK MK Ultra, and I crossed that to the Lime 1 BX, and then the Blueberry Trainwreck MK Ultra to the Lime 1 BX. And man, the Blueberry Trainwreck MK Ultra Lime 1 BX is so strange. It's got the type of nugget structure where the stigmas are really, really, really fat and very, very pronounced. And so the bud, it looks just like it's just like this powerhouse of like gnarly like hairs. So they look like just Sasquatch. And it's crazy because all of the hairs have all of these, systolic, I think, what are they? The systolic trichomes. And so they are still really bright and shiny. And it's just a weird, I'll see if I can share some of the pictures I have.
Cystolytic, like those silicate trichomes, right?
Yeah, it's a really, really weird structure, and it's really unique. I don't see it very often. Let me look.
Brandon, you ever mess with the Crippy?
Well, I have some Crippy S1 that somebody sent me. I just have not had a chance to. Yeah, no, 'cause I actually just got organized all my seeds because I have to enter everything into metric.
Oh, right.
So tomorrow we're entering it all of the seed stock
The
that
new
I
stuff.
have from my personal
Now,
library.
is your bird named Lucky, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's right behind you, right? Do you feed him cannabis seeds or no?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Good, good.
Well, not always intentionally though.
Oh
You
man.
better be
Speaking of
careful.
himself.
He's gonna if he gets a liking for him, you're gonna find your seed vault broken into.
Oh, well, I moved the seed vault away because that did happen.
Oh man.
I had
Oh,
actually
no.
a couple. I actually had a couple of packs of seeds that were up on my shelf in the living room, and I wasn't paying attention. He started climbing the shelves, and he found the packs, and he chewed about, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred of those Limarilla times Lime 1BX seeds up.
I
Oh,
bet you
man.
he loved them.
Oh no, shit.
That's painful.
So I sent to the group chat. If you guys, when you guys check, the last two pictures that I sent are the train wreck blueberry times Lime 1BX, and again, they have this
Very fluffy
they're weird,
and
man.
frosty.
And then the top ones that I sent are the Limarilla times Mac V2.
Oh, those look so good.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait. They're gonna finish probably, that was for day 42, so I think another week and they're gonna be done.
I see a lot of GG4 in the bud structure.
There's no Oh, in this one?
Yeah, and the very first picture I got.
Yeah, that's the Limarilla times Mac V2, dude. I wish I could screen share. That'd be really cool. But they stack, dude. They get
They could all he's gotta do is give you host, and then you should, or he could somehow, I don't know how to.
Oh, it's on my phone though. I don't. I don't. Yeah, I don't have the
I
picture.
tried. Okay, so now I gave you permission.
Yeah, it wouldn't work anyway because all of it's on my phone, all my camera pictures and stuff.
Okay, then no more permission.
You can take it back.
Hey, I want to shout this out real quick because it's pretty important. Potent Ponics, Steve Reisner out there. Shout out to him. He says, I just lost it because I got.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
But he was talking about kelp. He was just consulting that somebody came back 4 times the limit on kelp. I think he said arsenic.
Arsenic, yeah.
Because they were going crazy with the kelp.
Yep. That's what I've been telling people, not to use the ocean inputs and yeah. So that's the Limarilla breeder cut times Mac V2, dude. And these are all taken on day 42. I can't wait, dude.
Dude, they look so good, man. I can't wait either. That's the first one.
And here's the thing. So the trichomes feel real sandy too. So it might be a good washer.
Real good hasher. Nice.
That would be great.
I think Mac's usually pretty good washer anyways.
Yeah, I think the photo after this one's like, yeah, I mean, that was one of the ones that had the most like kind of sandy trichomes because there's different phenos and they vary slightly,
That's awesome. I can zoom right in onto that.
It's not too bad. The camera that I got a new camera finally, and it's been able to take a lot better pictures.
Looking very frosty. Very trichomous.
And what's the terps like on that one again?
Oh man, it's really interesting. So it's like have you ever smelt lemon basil?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like lemon.
Awesome already.
It's like lemon basil. It smells like lemon basil.
Damn. It's one of my favorite kombuchas or whatever. Is there's a basil you can get. It's so fucking good.
It's like it's so bright. It's just like it's one of those things that when you smell, that's the Trainwreck Blueberry MK times Lime 1BX. Not a very good picture, but they have these really big, thick hairs, and the buds are just covered in them. the GG4 times Lime 1 turned out really good. I was really stoked on those two. Here, I'll shoot those real quick. And then I'll show, here's a couple of phenos of those Mac muffins. I think what's going to happen is we're just going to, you have to take into consideration like flowering times, the cycle that these things are taken, especially for these in a commercial setting. So having things that are able to finish really fast, high potency, that's just kind of how the market is. I wanted to do that. I did that big pheno hunt with, all those different like hazes, the P91 Bull Rider, Super Silver hazes, the old Blueberry Skunk crossed into the hazes. And it ended up not being really that, none of that stuff really was viable for, commercial production, because we were hoping to find some phenos. And as much as we love them personally, that's not really what the market looks for. The market is, they want the name brand stuff. They want the gelatos and the new stuff that, is coming out from a lot of the bigger companies that, have names, and they kind of build good marketing and branding strategies. And it's almost like the high-end flower market is and almost a direct extension of that, the things that cookies are doing, the things that, compound genetics are doing, the things that
just selling a brand.
Yeah. That's the Blueberry Mac muffin. Again, that has great bag appeal. It has the purples in there. Beautiful, beautiful flowers, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, I just shared a couple pictures of, it's basically the same thing, like day 46. I got a couple gelatos, and I could see why people would dig that. That's a fun little short stubby plant that, but it will kind of fill out a little bit, more than you would think. But that's an interesting plant. I've only ran it a few times, but I mean, I can tell that stuff is, the THC on that's got to be pretty dang high.
That's the best one, personally. That's my favorite out of all of them, is that particular pheno, because it stacks really hard.
Those calyx on the top are so swollen, they almost look like they're seeded.
Yeah, it grows like that. It's really nice because it's going to be really easy for people to trim when it's time for that to happen. So finding stuff that commercially, that's one of the things that I've I'm looking at too, is how efficient is it going to be for people to get this bagged up. Look real pretty. Okay, so this is the Gorilla Glue times Lime 1 BX. It's very, very similar to the Limarilla.
Nice.
It's very, very similar. I mean, it has the same types of structure. It's covered in trichomes. It has similar. It has the profile of the Limarilla of the Gorilla Glue leaners, which is more of the like chocolate coffee with the citrus overtone with undertone.
Okay. I'm excited for my cuvee. I've got one cuvee that's smelling just like cherry Tootsie Rolls. It smells so fucking good to me.
Ooh, that does sound good. Yeah, it can be really hard to pick stuff out, because as a connoisseur smoker and somebody that can grow really good weed, it's like, oh, this is fucking awesome. But it's like, but it fucking takes 70 days.
Yeah.
These ones I think are going to finish pretty quick. I don't really want to be running anything that's over 9 weeks. It's just too much. And really 8 weeks is ideal.
Yep. I agree with
But
that.
again, that's good. That's good.
Ooh.
That's Noah the Growers.
Nice.
Yeah, that looks really good. That's the gelato cross, right?
Yeah, that's the gelato, and that's just like day 46. I got that in my room right now. I took that a couple days ago. I'm waiting for a couple more days, and I'm gonna post one on Instagram. But yeah, no, that's that new gelato cross I got, and it's
that was good.
Man, I mean, you can see it goes all the way. The sugar goes all the way down the leaves, man. I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Fuck, you want to trim that shit? Damn.
you know what they kind of remind me of a little bit is they kind of remind me of the way that the old like Bubbas and the, you know, the purple Kush grow, the way that the bud formation, how they're really frosty and like nice and, you know, they have those golf ball sized nugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just turned on my mic. So this is one, and he's got another one in here too, another pick. You can tell how healthy they are from these leaves.
Look at them shine.
Yeah, that shine on certain strains gets that shine. That is frosty though. No, look at that.
Yeah, I just
really
snapped
good.
those the other day. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm really focusing right now, man. Having been laid up there for a couple months with this ankle, man. I'm not cutting any corners right now. I'm putting everything I got into it, and it's I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
See, there's more just like it in the background.
Yeah, that's not the only one.
Good work. I was looking in the background of one of Brandon's too. I was like, there's some big plants in there.
There's
All right, cool.
yeah, there's usually is. Our greenhouses right now are, oh man, they're crazy.
Let me get to that pic. This one.
Here, I'll share another one right now.
See in the back over here. You can see the ones that towering in the back.
Yeah, on the right side.
Yeah, and then even straight in the middle. You see that one peeking out back here?
Oh yeah.
Those are some of the Limarilla Lime 1 BX. I have a table in there and they just beasted out. Super huge plants. The greenhouses, man, I'm like, I'm in love with the greenhouses though. The ceilings are actually really tall, man. I mean, I could grow like really tall plants, but the thing is, these are on like rolling bench tables. I would love to get these things on
up and down.
I'd love to get them into beds in here in this facility. That would be really, really amazing. I'm absolutely in love with the soil beds, with the mixed light. It is hands down, man, the best fucking plants I've ever grown. I mean, it does. I don't think I can get any any better other than just. I think the only thing that I can do is just keep learning about like the metabolites that are released by specific bacterias, and like as new stuff is discovered for the pathogen suppression and pest like bug suppression.
I think you're really close to like Alexander the Great conquering the world. There is no more world to take over. He just cries and gets sick. So don't let that happen.
No, well, I hope not, because
I'm just doing plant stuff.
He left an empire afterwards that had a pretty big power vacuum. So I hope not. But we can all share in the
There's one very important difference. And that's that Brandon's always going to have some fire fucking weed to smoke, so he'll have a smile on his face.
There you go. He'll smile until the day he goes.
It's just crazy to see like how, the difference between something that's in a pot and something that just isn't constricted. That's like literally we're going.
I've been sharing that. And the BBC did the story that says it was like a thing on words too. How does it go? Plants get stunted by pot or something. But the premise of it was no matter how big a container they put the plant in, the size of the container was a limiting factor essentially. And and for some reason they took it off the internet, but I saved it. I have it saved somewhere.
I'm really, really impressed with the efficiency as far as the cost efficiency and everything else with what we're doing. It's such a huge relief to know that we can operate at such a low, inexpensive cost and be able to produce such a high quality product. It makes it so, if things stay the way that they are, we should be able to, put more money into the property and kind of build, remediate the land and just, have a really big company, something like Finest, something like Jungle Boys. I mean, I hope that my brand is a recognizable name in the organic space as those people are in the spaces that they operate.
Good luck, man. Absolutely.
Yeah,
You're well on your way.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
definitely.
So I don't think you need much luck, Brandon. You got it going on. So I
But
think it's
you
just
know,
a matter of time.
I have to give credit where it's due. If it wasn't for a lot of you guys that are sitting here right now, past people that have been in here, being able to talk about what I'm doing with other people, get other inputs and all this other stuff, it makes me a better grower, right? Because
Oh, 100%.
the more I repeat the types of things that I'm learning, I'm going to be able to get that information stuck in my head a little bit better every time I repeat it.
Yep.
You know, it's the reason why I know why the 5 elements that are responsible for, you know, chlorophyll and then the conversion of nitrogen into proteins, you know, for chlorophyll production, and then what's responsible for, you know, nitrogen conversion. And it's just being able to repeat over and over and over, repetition, and having 112 cheap home grow shows, I think has probably all helped us up our games.
Me personally, yes.
Undoubtedly.
Well, it's been very cool to see you, you know, like on your trajectory professionally and continuing on, you know, into the stratosphere. And so, I mean, I know people, that's why people are trying to buy or, you know, acquire your plants in any way they are. It's why people are excited to hear about the cultivars you're growing, and, you know, don't let any tornadoes get in your way.
Man,
That's all I have to say.
so we have a
Knock on
storm.
wood.
I think Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's so far no tornado. Like tornadoes are expected, but there's a saying in Oklahoma. It says if you don't like the weather, wait a minute, it's gonna change.
You know what? I fear people are going to get Brandon's seed and they're not going to be able to reproduce what he does. But, you know, because I tell you what, I said it a long ass time ago. The first time he did his big grow and he's showing it on IG, Brad, I was really impressed, dude. I must have shot you out like 3 times that first grow you did on IG, because it was just spectacular and you're just getting better and better. It's amazing, dude. You really are.
It's really just about looking at all the different science, right? Because what I've had to do, this is the biggest thing, and I tell this to people all the time. There's a really big kind of disconnect between modified growing mixes and soil food web science. And I understand both of them. And soil food web science is really geared for agronomic soils, bioremediation, for building
fields.
Yeah, for building that soil. But when you have something that's already been custom built, these things actually operate like a hydroponic media. And I understand this because what I'm doing is I'm adding a sufficient amount of nutrients to the soil, and they're balanced. So that way, when I'm watering, that solution is actually just like a hydroponic solution that you would be watering into your cocoa media or your rock wool media. It's the same exact principle, because all of those chemicals are almost the same, except that they're just derived from organics, and they're derived also from the nutrient cycling capacity of the biology that are in those soils. But you know, well, we're not trying to add things like earthworms and crop cover, because we're not trying to change the structure of the soil. We're not trying to add a lot of you know, when you have earthworms in a system like this, they quickly become castings, and then it compacts soil. And then you had to add so much more minerals like gypsum, calcium, and then you have to rebalance the soil. So understanding that these modified growing mixes, these living soils, when you get them, if you get an actual soil from, like, let's say Build a Soil, Kiss Organics, these people, they're testing Bio 360. They understand the levels of the nutrition that they're putting in their soil. And so, you know, when I look at a saturated paste test, I can see, and I can make those slight adjustments. So it's really, it's almost like I'm growing just like a hydroponics would, but it's soil and it's biology. It's really, they work very, very similar. But it doesn't work. this is the interesting part, right? Because hydroponics and growing in this media is more closely related than me growing in this media and then me growing in an agronomic field conditions, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, to the
Makes
extent that you're
100%
really carefully controlling the levels of inputs and other issues like that, there are still significant differences in terms of how the roots are interacting with the microbes and the nutrients, and in how the media itself interacts with like the water and the oxygen and all the rest of that. But yeah, in terms of being sort of micromanaging, almost we could say, the levels of inputs and stuff, yeah, you're doing a very similar thing there.
And well, when we're looking at the cocoa substrate and we have all of that aeration to maximize that gas exchange capacity of that media, it's one of the reasons why my soil is built with 40% aeration, which is a lot more than most people do. But it's because that way you can saturate these medias and still have the capacity to hold a lot of oxygen. Again, that's very, very similar to how rockwool functions. You know, it's very similar to the way that cocoa functions, because you can saturate these, but if you have the proper aeration, which a lot of people are using aeration in their cocoa, that's, you know, it's very similar. And it's about the, you know, some things are different. The pHs are a little bit different, but the concepts for what's actually, you know, falling into solution that's coming in contact with plant roots as we water.
Yeah.
That
the plants are going to uptake the same basic compounds from either system like that. And I think it's interesting, you know, being worried about sort of the airspace in the media and the aeration is certainly one way. How frequently do you fertigate or water?
It depends on.
You're watering still based on sort of soil capacity, right?
Yeah. So typically when we water something in, like the Microbe Plus from my company, Bokashi Earthworks, which we like to do about twice a week, we'll do 50 gallons per bed. But if we water only 50 gallons per bed, we need to follow up the next day with another 50 gallons of water.
Right.
However, if we water with just a regular watering program, which is what we'll normally do, for the most part, it's just water only, unless we're doing the inoculants, biological inoculants, or integrated pest management inoculants.
Right. But a lot of the oxygen that the roots actually get is, I mean, all of it's dissolved in the water primarily.
Yeah. And so we're really oxygenating that water too, because we have a massive sub pump, right? That pulls a massive amount of water through like a.
You got like an airlift.
Yeah, it's like through an inch PVC pipe, so it's just it's just water falling.
But then you have the time interval where that dissolved oxygen sort of gets depleted until the next watering event. So it's actually interesting. I was fascinated the first time I looked at sort of the science of this, but the oxygen content in cocoa that's available to the plant is highest immediately after a watering, because most of the oxygen that's available to the plant is actually dissolved already in the water. And with our style of sort of high frequency fertigation, most of the air is just coming, that's being dissolved already in the water. It doesn't come from sort of the air holding spaces within the soil itself. So these are different things when you're sort of really ramping up and you're thinking about how to manage these different things. When you get to a certain point of frequency, the oxygen just all comes out of the water. If you're down to once a day or less than once a day, then you really need to be aware of sort of the oxygen holding capacity of the soil as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too. So we like to do a more aerated soil so it dries out faster. And the reason is because that way you can kind of control better dry backs. You can also water a little more frequently. And like you were saying, the oxygen holding capacity of that water is greater when the temperature is a little bit lower. So we have, you know, a nice cold water storage, and we're able to get, you know, we water almost every day, or at least every other day.
Yep.
But again, we have so much pore space that, you know,
It helps on both sides there, right? It helps keep
Yeah.
the oxygen in
does.
the media. It also helps the drainage, which allows you to water again more frequently. People think oftentimes that watering frequently is sort of like a problem, or I mean, it is for management issues, but it just, whether you're in an organic soil or you're in a hydroponic system like cocoa, providing the fresh water is just such a wonderful way to get fresh oxygen to the plants.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And you know,
Brandon,
having that aeration is definitely a key, at least in my opinion, it is.
did I understand correct that so after you water with the Micro Plus, you have to water the next day because it's dried out already because that water made the plants like
No, it didn't dry it out.
No,
It's just
okay.
because each bed requires a little bit more than 50 gallons of water.
Oh, okay.
They usually
I got
they
you.
usually will do about like 75 or 80 a bed. They're 85 feet long by 4 feet wide. And
Okay.
so if I typically water just, you know, right out as an RO, it's just, we're using the one. We're going to be switching to the blue mat systems, and actually 4 o'clock on Tuesday, Future Cannabis Project, we have a CAD design of our greenhouses laid out, and we're going to go through all of the motions of how one of these things would be set up, answer all the questions just for my curiosities, my partner's curiosities, but any of the viewers and listeners. And we're going to go through, you know, the benefits and, you know, how these things kind of function and work in these systems, because we'd like to automate our watering to where we just have to water in, you know, like our biocontrols or our microbes.
I'm a big fan of that kind of a thing. Definitely, you're already talking about how important it is and how useful it is for you to be able to grow at the scale that you do, at the cost level that you do, at the personnel level that you do, and automation is going to give you even more control over that. But you know,
Yeah,
Give you more
computerization lets you do 100 things right at the same time, but it also lets you make 100 errors at the same time as well.
Yeah, so we're
but
gonna
it's easy
have
to switch from 100 to 1,000 too.
True.
automated watering will free us up to manage more of the garden workers and train people, so that way we don't have to spend as much time doing tasks like defoliating plants, because I think that my time could probably be spent you know, better doing something different, doing, you know, the kinds of things that are, you know, doing the branding and the science stuff, which I'm going to always do. I'm always going to be in the garden growing and taking cuts and working alongside people. But I try to, trying to maximize our efficiency when it comes to time as a company, as individuals. So, you know, there's a lot of growth happening, and there's a lot of learning curves that we have to get to, and, you know, legislation constantly change that we have to try to fight back on. And so there's always something going on.
Yeah, I remember I shared in the chat too that I saw that they passed a bill, I guess, in Oklahoma that you can't photo or video police officers.
That's really not good. So hopefully we have some attorneys out here that'll fight for us, because we do have a lot of people on the side, you know, of the people. So that's one of the good things I like about Oklahoma. We're, you know, the state of Oklahoma is suing Metric right now.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So if you're in Oklahoma and you're listening and you need a ride to the courthouse on Thursday, we're offering rides for carpools. We're trying to get business owners, whether you're a dispensary, whether you're a grow, a processor, whether you're an ancillary business like an electrician, hell, even if you're a homeowner and you don't have anything to do with cannabis and you don't realize that your property value has increased over the last 2 years because cannabis is in the state, come on down. You know, cannabis has affected everybody positively, even if you don't know about it. And
so what's the story? I don't know the story. What's going on?
Okay, so Metric is an illegal monopoly, which
it's fucking annoying too.
Yeah, not only that, but what happens is it creates an illegal monopoly, and the money is getting taken out of state. Not only that, but it
Makes a lot of
has
garbage.
a massive amount of flaws, and there's no reason to really have it implemented because there's nobody to enforce it anyway. It's full of so many errors and
just a massive amount of garbage that's created. Just a massive amount of garbage is just sickening.
It's so ridiculous, dude. It's bad too. It costs people money and you're forced to do it. As a small business, okay, if you are running a sea of green and you have, 1,000 or 2,000 plants in a room and they're small, you have to tag every single one of those. That's 45 cents a piece times, 2,000 plants. You're not reusing them. That's wasted plastic. That's but they're making people do stupid ass shit like they want you to record the material that comes off when you're pruning plants. Like dumb ass shit like that. Okay, how about the metric people come into my facility and come and prune 2,800 square feet of canopy and record every single leaf that comes off of every individual plant? That's fucking insane. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to come into my facility and harvest 798 fucking plants per greenhouse and fucking wet weight every single one of those before?
How would you even record all of that? That's like terabytes of data.
And then check this out. There's so many rural areas of people operating out here in Oklahoma that they're on satellite and slow internet connections, and they can't download those speeds of internet daily to upload it to Metric, which means what? Their fucking businesses are done.
Yep.
Dude, there's a bunch of stupid ass shit.
It's an extra employee for us. Every harvest is an extra whole employee. It's a person's job the whole fucking time, just entering the weights of every fucking plant that we pull down.
Yeah, you have to have someone specifically just for it. It's trash. It's a trash fucking monopoly.
They must know somebody. They must be giving kickbacks to the right people in these states. I don't get it.
No, dude, but we have to collectively, as business owners, we have to come together. Consumers, you want to know why people in California are paying $65 to $80 for a fucking eighth of weed? It's because of fucking Metric, and it's because of overtaxation, overregulation. We have medical here still in Oklahoma. We're not rec yet, right? But Metric is a prerequisite to recreational, overtaxed, overregulated fucking cannabis. Fuck Metric.
I definitely want to reiterate the amount of waste associated with that system.
Obviously, plastic tags that are this fucking big.
It does not allow you to be ecologically conscious. It does not allow for somebody to be ecologically conscientious.
It pushes you into management styles that are suboptimal because you're responding to those sort of demands rather than sort of
the demands of the plant.
Demands.
Actual natural demands of
And
what Brandon was talking about with the sea of green, you may try to run a lot fewer, larger plants and totally change the way that you're doing, which would reduce the efficiency of your overall system because you're more worried about sort of the.
Well, imagine, say, for example, I mean, that's a real thing. Imagine this is the little things people don't think about. Imagine changing a plant count in a room. Say you were running at 150 plants. You want to go up to 200 and see how that changed. What you don't realize is that's 50 more plants. So on transplant, that's 50 more pots that have to be filled. And for Metric, that's 50 more tags that have to be threaded, which it's not the quickest task. And then each one of those has got to be 50 more plants that have to be tagged. And that's 50 more, all that bullshit you have to not only buy, which is annoying.
Right, so you just wouldn't do it. I mean, you just wouldn't experiment and innovate
go for the 200, right? Some company on IG did a post about the metrics, and they had tubs full of those tags, and they were pissed that they couldn't even get more tags. They were saying they can only order a certain amount or something like that. Then they were waiting for them to come, so they would have their hands tied.
No, okay, this is what they do. Metric will only allow you to order a certain amount at the time, which means you have to pay for shipping multiple times over and over. And over.
Yeah, that's
wow. I'm telling you, the whole fucking thing is a fucking scam, dude.
Story.
Well, yeah, and like and I'm sure you can speak to this too, Dr. MJ. Like labor is such a for all businesses, sure, labor is really important.
Yeah.
But like in agriculture historically, like, I'll never forget the magazine I was reading a few years ago where they were changing the laws or proposing the changes of the laws for overtime pay in California for agricultural work. And people were livid. They were like, I can't believe that we'd be paying overtime. We just can't even do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, this is just so, yeah, that's just so
And you could look at it almost like that. For the one sort of economic positive out of these regulations, it does make more jobs for people because it's going to require 10 people to do the transplanting instead of one person to do the transplanting. It sounds like, you know what I mean? But you pass those costs on to the consumer, and I think that it's really the consumers of legal recreational cannabis that are getting hosed through all of this. And I don't think that the powers that be are really care about that. It seems to be just a new source of revenue that they can tap to fund other projects.
I feel like there could be a way more efficient
vacations.
way of doing
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's also, the pro-cannabis lobby is also responsible for that, because one of the ways that they promote cannabis legalization is talking to legislators about how much tax revenue they can generate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like been that's been the winning argument that's brought
I'll
on
admit
the
it was it's the winning argument in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
I
Can
mean,
you run?
That,
no, I'll just say that's just like, I mean, it's a very sort of secular and kind of unbiased thing. Like at the very least, sir, you can at least make your city much more profitable. You can at least make your companies, most people are going to agree with that to some degree, even if they might be kind of on the fence. But
that's the winning argument. There's a bunch of other arguments that had to be won first in terms of like the danger to society and all of that kind of stuff that had to be won first, but none of those actually flipped the scales. The one that actually got, governments to flip their policies on this was the economic argument. And, there's better ways to do it though. And there still can make money without sort of like coming up with these ridiculous schemes.
Can you run for office there in Oklahoma? Or are you
I'm a
for
felon.
some reason?
I'm a felon. I can't run. I can't.
Well, you find a good friend that could.
That's right.
That's it. Yeah.
But hey, I have to get out of here. It's time for dinner. So I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for having me as always. And for all the listeners, you can find me at my little icon right there on Instagram. I'll talk to you guys all soon.
Grow and love, Brandon. Thanks for joining us.
Peace out, Brandon.
I'm also going to run, you guys. I got to get going for dinner myself. Good seeing all you guys. Good job, Brandon. And nice seeing you again, Dr. MJ, and everybody on the panel. You guys have a good show.
Grow and love, Noah. Thanks for coming.
Great.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Have a good night, man. Yeah, I gotta go too. I'm gonna piggyback off those guys. I'm gonna get out of here.
We're being abandoned. Pretty soon it's gonna be like me, Tao, and Matt. Actually, pretty soon it's gonna be me, Tao, and Matt.
That way, you guys get a word in. We've been talking in your ear.
And then there were three.
Spartan, get out of here. Give us your sign off here.
I don't know. It's just I don't even have a sign off. I'm so fucking high right now. I just haven't smoked Spartan Glue in so long. I think that reset my receptors, and it's fucking me up today.
It seems
like
it went
so far, like
it
cycled back
on you.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. It's fucking awesome hanging out. I love these shows, man. I love it when we just don't have a plan. It's just like hanging out with your bros, man. Love it. Cheers, guys.
Very much so.
Peace out, Spartan.
All right, so then there were three. Does chat have any questions? In our last, we got about like 10 minutes. It's not final sign-offs aren't going to take very long because they've already basically happened. Either Matt or Tao or anybody in chat, feel free to raise a final topic for us to chew on.
I saw one earlier, but I'm not going to be able to scroll back that far. If I can remember it.
I'm trying to think of I definitely saw some. I like to answer the questions from chat. Chat, if you got questions,
Yeah, if there were
please.
questions that we passed by that you
We'll do a lightning round. Yeah.
want to get back to. I'll tell everybody about a couple of things going on. We just started the Spring Autoflower Challenge on 420. A bunch of you I know in chat and listening to this are in the Spring Autoflower Challenge, but if you're not yet, you can still join. You're only 5 days late, and just get your seeds going, sign up. We're gonna do lots of cool giveaways during the Spring Autoflower Challenge this year, so check that out. And this week on, what is it, Saturday is the first? Yeah, on Saturday, we're doing the next strain review giveaway. This is, you write a strain review and you get a lottery ticket, essentially. And this month, we're giving away the Geek Beast Plus, which is a big giant light that I reviewed a couple months ago. Pretty nice light. So check that out, write a strain review, get a lottery ticket. The lottery is on Saturday. That's all at cocoforcannabis.com. Did you come up with anything else, Matt or Matthew, Tao?
Hydroponics here. Steve Reisner has best treatment for banana bunchy top virus, and that is to throw it away. Cannabis doesn't get bunchy top, but that is a very problematic thing. I think it's actually caused by a retrovirus, if I'm not mistaken, or that might be that might be a mango ring spot or something like that. But yeah, well, actually on that topic, I just want to, it's always a good time to let people know that there's a bunch of, gross, incurable pathogens in cannabis that are not well known. And I mentioned them earlier and I'll mention them now. Big one that is probably going to become more common is LCV, or lettuce sclerosis virus, and that is vectored by the silverleaf whitefly, which is a super common whitefly globally. And I love to mention that it's a plant virus vector of over 180 viruses. So it's very good at what it does. You've also got the beet curly top virus, which is a huge problem globally as well. And it is also a problem for cannabis too. And I have videos for both of those on my YouTube channel. And the third one I want to talk about is the hemp phytoplasmas. I just had a guy tell me that their grow, they were having symptoms of like weird dudding and very odd leaf formations, kind of like what's called witch's brooming, when like the leaves and the branches kind of grow kind of in excess. It kind of looks like a rat's nest almost. And they got it tested for phytoplasma, and it was indeed a hemp phytoplasma positive. So you guys got to watch out. People describe dudding, but dudding could really be anything, and it's really helpful to be descriptive with the sort of symptoms you have when you ask about them, just in general. And take pictures, take videos, document, because some of these are going through various distribution channels, from people's friends to commercial lines, and it's happened once already with hop latent viroid, and that's going to become more and more problematic too. And it's not going to be the last time that nurseries and other groups are going to be spreading things out. So you have to be very vigilant with your quarantine and with your documentation and crop scouting. So, there's your IPM review for
your
this
IPM
week.
Update with Matthew.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. Let me address this question about bottom feeding in cocoa. But I don't think bottom feeding when you're fertigating in any media is a good idea, based on the basic sort of hydrodynamic flow through a media. When you put salty water, which when you're fertigating, your water's a little bit salty, that's the nutrients are different salts. And you put it to the bottom of dry media, it will wick up the media. The salty water gets moved to the top, and then water gets evaporated and water gets removed by the plant, which leaves the salts behind, and it creates a toxic root condition, toxic soil condition in the top region of that plant. There's no way to flush those salts out. So if you are in bottom feeding, really feeding, fertigating from the bottom in cocoa, the best strategy for that is to periodically top feed, and top feed with a really low EC And what your goal there is essentially is flushing back down those salts that have wicked up. You know, the solidification of sort of soil like that actually renders, has rendered cropland like infertile all around the world. So it's really sort of an issue in terms of adding water, getting the water salty, and then having it wick up, and it brings all the salts to the surface. So that's the issue. If you're in cocoa that's like amended cocoa and you're not fertigating, you're just providing fresh water, then that's fine to bottom feed. It's really an issue that's created by the nutrients. Hopefully that answers that. Yeah, Potent Phonics, hit me up, send me an email, or do we have a contact page? Love to come on the show. There were a few questions that I thought we would better sort of kick to maybe Spartan and Brandon and other people like that. The compost tea question for sure. And
yeah, I see this one by Duke, and I'm not sure I could answer it very appropriately. Only to say that there's 100 answers plus to that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
That are legitimate.
One of them that's pretty informed. He stopped using compost teas. Spartan Grown did. So can tell you about sort of what you're looking for in a good compost tea. And then the other question that I thought you know, we could say a little bit about, but there was earlier commentary about arsenic and kelp, and now a couple questions about sort of when to stop using kelp. I don't use kelp. It does sort of do things that are PGR, that modify the plant growth.
There were some questions about kelp, about whether it's cumulative, but of course, right? That's kind of...
Yeah, arsenic, it would be cumulative. Bioaccumulate?
Yeah, that was just I just wanted to like speak to that particular question.
Yeah, the original question reminded me of elderberry wine, thinking about arsenic and kelp. But yeah, we'll try to get deeper into that maybe next week. We'll carry that over. There are issues with heavy metal contamination in kelp for sure. So that is the thing.
I got a question, Doc. So if you're in the cocoa, you're doing like water, feed water or whatever, would it be all right?
Feed.
I was gonna say, so that's the program, right? Because I was gonna say you could bottom feed with the just water part, but you gotta. That's what makes the magic, right? If it's consistent.
What makes the magic really in the system? Yeah, the way I teach it is to keep everything really consistent at the right ratios. You know, when the electrical conductivity swings, the plant has to adjust to that. The plant is sort of trying to keep in balance with the electrical conductivity in the water. And if you can keep it really consistent, then the plant doesn't have to adjust to that. So growing on a system where you do feed, water, feed, or whatever, you're swinging the electrical conductivity dramatically. Every time you go from a nutrient solution to plain water, and then from plain water back to a nutrient solution, and the plant's got to adjust to that. And you better believe that's going to slow the plant down. Now, if you're feeding at too high of a level, the intermittent, you know, plain water is what's going to save your butt, but it's better to just feed at the consistent level that the plant wants.
Right.
Now, you're also of the opinion, maybe more stronger than opinion, but when people try to sort of like change their nutrient schedule like dramatically, whatever that looks like, from like veg to flower, do you feel like on the scale of like 0 to 10, how important do you think that is for like the end result product?
To situation? To give them different nutrients during veg and flower, or is it pretty important?
It's pretty important, but would you say that but like, I think a lot of people maybe, I don't think I'm articulating the question very well, but like, I feel like people maybe very over dramatically do it. And so like, I guess, what do you change? I think that might be more of the question. What do you change and to what degree, kind of generalizable if you can?
It just in general, the nutrient element ratio shifts during the course of the grow, especially into flowering. We add a higher ratio. You know, in cocoa, we really only want to add a higher ratio of phosphorus. but we end up adding potassium as well. Nitrogen needs stay fairly consistent. There's sort of a overhype about the fact that nitrogen needs go down during flowering. It's really just
I think I was hitting on kind of that stereotype. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really just that the plant can use more P and K. It doesn't need more or less nitrogen. So for that reason, the element ratio shifts. Now, one thing about the way that I try to grow is we're growing fast, and we're really keeping the plant humming in this like high production mode. And one of our really good growers, Smart Poker, who's in chat, I think he was a while ago, recently sent me a picture of like some leaf curl, and he's saying, these plants are growing like fire, and I'm getting this little issue. I'm like, yeah, you're probably dealing with a slight little nutrient element ratio issue, just because you're really pushing it. The plants are really sort of using everything you're giving them. And that's going to expose some sort of minor issues around the edges sometimes, because we're trying to keep, in the law of the minimum, we got all the reeds sort of up as high as they'll go. And, it's spilling out one side or the other. We're trying to kind of keep that tub as full as we can, if you're familiar with that metaphor. So, it is important. I like if you really want to push it, you can ease off. You can back off and sort of run a lower EC and all that and have good success with this. But if you're really trying to sort of maximize speed and production, and you get plants that are growing 2, 3, 4 inches a day, you'll expose some slight issues if you're not kind of making those adjustments during the term. So people ask me, like a question came up earlier today about what's a good compromised veg blend. Or can I do one blend that sort of will work for different plants in different stages of veg? And you can. It's just a bit of a compromise. It's not going to be sort of as tuned to each stage of growth as you otherwise could be. But I otherwise agree with you, Matt. I think that it's a little overdone.
Yeah, and I think that it kind of comes. I think that I guess I'm trying to also express that I feel, and confirming if this is even true, that like, at least it's been in my experience, like you don't have, like, I don't know, I know people who don't really change things very much, and perhaps because they're already using things at an excessive level and you don't really notice, or because it just is strain dependent or whatever. But
or they're just not pushing production to the same level.
Yes, and I think maybe you've just hit the nail on the head there. I think like you can still, I guess, like, you don't need it to be premium, at least in my opinion. You can grow some great fire.
Right. Think about having like a sports car, right? And if you're putting around in your sports car, running errands, going back and forth to the store and theater or whatever, you're never going to really sort of realize how the fifth cylinder is misfiring, right? But if you get it out on the highway or you take it to the track and you're trying to do time trials or something, then you're going to realize, oh, okay, the timing is off a little bit here. This isn't hitting right or something else. All those sort of flaws that you're never going to expose until you really start to push the system towards its limit.
I like that metaphor.
Yeah, that was perfect.
You also have to give a sports car premium gasoline, for example.
Yeah, and you got to know how to drive. It's not like, getting behind the bumper car or something and you just kind of can run into things. And there's different sort of approaches like that. It is something when you're growing like that, if you're taking your sports car around the track, you're paying attention to every little detail, which is why Small Poker sort of sent in that picture. He's like, oh, what's this issue that's coming up? And you do sort of hit some of those things, but it's really because you're pushing it. Anyways, this was a fun chat, guys, and it is right now 5:59. So let's go ahead and do our final sign-offs here, and you guys can bring up any final comments or chat questions that you wanted to when you're signing off. Tao, thanks for gracing us with your presence, and
no worries. I apologize I was late. I'm the American one on YouTube and the American one _ Keens on the IG. I want to mention a YouTuber and cannabis cultivator that is down and out right now. Stony Baker MD is he's a cultivator, and he's having an issue. From what I understand, he's just like he's in a coma and he's not waking up. So that's about all the details I have. So I want everyone to send positive vibes to him, and yeah, hopefully he'll get back to 100% ASAP. And other than that, I hope everyone has a great week.
Yeah, we'll keep him in our thoughts. Absolutely, Todd. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, and then Matthew Gates, our IPM expert.
I enjoyed the chat. As always, we had great questions, and I got to talk about biosecurity, which I love to do. And if you're curious to learn more, I offer training. I consult with people who need help at the commercial level, but I love to help people out at a private level as well, because I think ultimately the more people who know IPM and good practice, the better we'll all be kind of collectively. So it's very important. I'm very passionate about that. I have videos on my YouTube channel, Zenthanol, the same one I was talking in chat with. And if you are curious about more information, you can check out my content there, as well as on Instagram at SyncAngel, as well as on Twitter with the same handle. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And, you know, we've been talking about this for a while, Matthew, but it takes a while to put together a resource properly. And we are still working on Matthew's Zenthanol's IPM guide that we'll be hosting on Cocoa for Cannabis. We're going to chat with you again about that, but we have some cool articles coming from Matthew that you guys can look forward to hopefully soon. I know I've been teasing it for a while.
I'm super excited as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I am Dr. MJ Coco from Cocoa for Cannabis, stepping in for Jack Greenstock, who is himself stepping in for Shane of the Cheap Home Grow podcast, bringing you another episode here of Growing with My Fellow Growers. Thank you all to the chat. You guys kept this episode really interesting. Thank you to Matthew, to Tao, to the other panelists who were on in this. I got kind of hosting duties sprung on me when we went live. But hopefully it was a fun show for everybody, and I had fun hosting it and talking about things. So I will do my best to be back here again next week with the rest of you. Don't forget to check out the strain review giveaway. Just write a strain review, get entered to win the Geek Beast Plus on Cocoa for Cannabis, and sign up for the Spring Autoplower Challenge if you haven't yet, and grow along with us. I'm Dr. MJ Coco for the Cheap Home Grow Network, wishing all of you grower love.
Peace out, all.
Grower love.